Playing healer with Rend is cool.
Lol, that cost me a follow on Twitch.
Yeah, I wonder how many times I would have probably had to do that before I figured that out. Adventurequest 3D offers a multi-class system where you can swap to any class you want as long as you're out of combat. It's one of the few free-to-play cross-platform MMORPGs that let you do that. But AQ3D takes it a step further. Character level and class ranks are separate and level independent of each other. When you rank a class up to rank 10, you unlock something called a cross skill, and that's a skill where you cross two swords.
You need to shut the
Okay, it's called a cross skill because it's a skill that can be used across all classes. It's the final unlockable skill on each class. You can equip one cross skill at a time and change it as long as you are out of combat and it is not on cooldown. There's a grand total of 14 different cross skills. Some of them are useful in combat and some of them are stylish poses. In this guide, I'll be explaining what each of these do while giving some use case examples for them. I'll also add on a rating scale for usability and one for ease of use because what's a lag guide without a controversial rating scale, am I right? First on the list is Seismic Slam. Seismic Slam is the warrior's cross skill, and in true warrior style you smash the ground immediately, dealing heavy AoE burst damage to nearby enemies. It is probably one of the first cross skills you'll unlock as a new player, as warrior is one of the 4 starting classes available to you. It is a very dependable cross skill for early game as it can help you with both bosses and mobs. Seismic Slam can be used easily with any class, but it generally performs a lot better with AoE classes, and AoE stands for Area of Effect, and those are classes like Warrior, Ranger, Paladin, Guardian, and Berserker. My usability rating for Seismic Slam is a 3 out of 5 as it's usually swapped out for Blizzy, another cross skill that we'll get into later on the list. My difficulty rating for Seismic Slam is a 1 out of 5 as it's very simple to use and it does what it says on the label right out of the box. Siphoning your soul away, next on the list is Rune Siphon. If you like utility skills in preference to damage, then this is a good place to start. Rune Siphon is the Mage's cross skill. Mage is the second starting class available to you as a new player. This cross skill is a single target range skill that deals damage over time for a short duration as well as doubles your resource generation. This applies to all resources, for example, mana regeneration with Mage, Healer or Moglomancer, Determination with Dragonslayer, or even stacks with Necromancer. There's a joke I want to make about Necromancer, but there are a lot of people that might smack me if I do. Rune Siphon can be used with most classes, but it's generally better for single target classes or situations where resource management is key. The most common classes you'll find yourself using Rune Siphon with are Mage, Necromancer, and Dragonslayer. If you do use Rune Siphon with any other classes though, let me know down in the comments below. My usability rating for Rune Siphon is a 3 out of 5 as it is single target and very situational. My difficulty rating for Rune Siphon is a 3 out of 5 as it's, getting the time in of when best to use it. Take some trial and error. This next skill does the exact opposite of its name and has the least connection to its class's gameplay loop of any of the other cross skills on this list. I am talking about the Rogue's cross skill, Swift Kick. Now, Swift Kick, contrary to its name, does not make you kick faster. Instead, it slows your enemy and weakens them for a short duration of time. Swift Kick deals a small amount of burst damage before applying Disrupt to enemies. Disrupt can be used on bosses and was previously exploited in early 2022. If you're wondering how all of this fits into the Rogue's poison and repeat loop, Swift Kick actually wasn't originally a cross skill, and if my memory serves correctly, it was part of the Rogue's original kit before the rework sometime, I think 2021 or 22. But I digress. A lot of players tend to use Swift Kick when soloing bosses or for dealing with mobs with really annoying crowd control abilities. All things considered, it's a very useful cross skill, but it only lasts for 4 seconds. If you time it well enough, 4 seconds is all you need. Swift Kick is best used with single target melee based classes like Rogue, Dragonslayer, Berserker, or Ninja for double stacking that weaken skill. My usability rating for Swift Kick is a 2 out of 5 as it's very niche and not many players opt for using it due to its short duration and they go for Rend instead. My difficulty rating for Swift Kick is a 4 out of 5 as you do need to time it properly to get any real use out of it. For the last of the cross skills for these starter classes, we have Presence of Mind. Now, there are mixed opinions on this, but it's definitely useful for party play if you're playing a support role. This cross skill increases how much health your spells or potions recover. Now, I'm not sure if it's a bug or something or if I'm just an idiot, but I tried using it with Berserker for testing purposes and it had absolutely no effect on the auto attack HP regen. I know you guys in the comments are going to say it's because it's outgoing healing and not incoming healing, but I think it should still, should apply. Anyway, that being said, there's not much more to say about the cross skill. It's best used when playing in a party on supporting classes like Healer, Paladin, or Guardian. My usability rating for Presence of Mind is a 2 out of 5 as it's very niche and there aren't many situations outside of probably PvP or speedrunning dungeons where it's deemed absolutely necessary. My difficulty rating for Presence of Mind is also a 2 out of 5 because it's very easy to use. Next up is another interesting cross skill, Disengage. Disengage or Disengage, or however you pronounce it, is the range's cross skill that deals a small amount of burst damage then launches you backwards a few paces. It's a very handy skill for putting distance between you and enemy, particularly if they have a very fast skill animation and you just need to avoid that attack. Disengage is also really handy for parkour and getting to difficult to reach areas. In combat, it's most often used with range classes like Ranger, but I've seen people have fun using it on Samurai for increased movement. There are a few other classes that you can have fun with this cross skill with, but there's no real hard and fast rule for it in my opinion, just something to have fun with or, to increase your survivability. Based on that, my usability rating for Disengage is a 3 out of 5 as you can apply it to multiple scenarios, but it doesn't deal a whole lot of damage or have much utility outside of, putting distance between you and an enemy. My difficulty rating for Disengage is a 1 out of 5 as it's very simple to use, just don't jump off the platform at Goblin Fuel, please. Moving on, we have probably one of the most popular cross skills, Rend. Rend is the Dragonslayer's cross skill and is used for dealing burst damage and breaking armor. For those of you that don't know what that means, armor breaking refers to reducing the enemy's defense so you or your team can deal more damage. Rend stacks with other armor breaking skills like Whirlwind, Shatterscale, Weaken, and I think whatever you call the Necromancer armor break thing, I don't know. Somebody was telling me that one out of those does not stack, so you can test it for yourself. Rend is used across all DPS classes and it's most commonly used with Warrior, Dragonslayer, Necromancer, Ninja, Samurai, and Berserker. My usability rating for Rend is a solid 5 out of 5 as it is one of the most popular choices of cross skills for PvE. My difficulty rating for Rend, however, is a 2 out of 5 as it is pretty easy to use. Are you really gonna make me do this? Alright, so it's time for a little luck. Legend says if you hit the like and subscribe button and leave a comment about your favorite cross skill, you'll have 2 seconds of good luck at some point in your life. Manifest it. And while you're down there, go follow me over on Twitch at twitch.tv/LagOfLore, where I attempt to answer all of your AQ3D related questions while hanging out and having a good time with everyone. Don't believe me about luck? Don't worry, this next cross skill has you covered. The Pirate's cross skill is called Lucky Shot and it grants you enough luck for a guaranteed crit via single target burst damage. Lucky Shot is another very popular cross skill, particularly with ranged classes as it helps them do more damage from afar. Lucky Shot is most commonly used with classes like Mage, Ranger, Pirate, and in some instances even Samurai for additional ranged damage. My usability rating for Lucky Shot is a 3 out of 5 as it's standard single target damage skill that lacks any real utility outside of that. My difficulty rating for Lucky Shot is a 1 out of 5 because there's absolutely no way to misuse that skill as far as I'm aware. Please don't prove me wrong. Sometimes this game makes me say expletive things like, holy sorry, I sneezed, because I'm allergic to your The Paladin's cross skill is Holy Bolt and is a very useful cross skill for staying alive or in true Paladin style, keeping your friends alive. Holy Bolt deals a small amount of burst damage, then heals you or nearby ally with the lowest health for a small amount of HP over time. I'm pretty sure I butchered that sentence, but you can figure it out. Like other utility cross skills, there's really no wrong class to use this skill with, but is typically used when playing solo against mobs or bosses where HP management is critical, or if you're a supporting class when playing in a group. You might opt for Holy Bolt over Presence of Mind or Provoke. One thing to keep in mind though is be aware of any berserkers in your surrounding, as Holy Bolt will target them and they will act like you when you don't get your morning coffee. My usability rating for Holy Bolt is a solid 5 out of 5 as it deals damage and keeps you and your friends alive. My difficulty rating for Holy Bolt is 2 out of 5 purely to see any berserkers or mads rage in the comments. I can sense that your attention span is beginning to dwindle, so let me use this next cross skill to trap you in place. No, literally, that's what the Necromancer's cross skill does. It's literally a bone prison. And this skill does a very small amount of damage to a single target while trapping the enemy in place for a short duration of time. It's a very handy cross skill, all things considered. It's most often used with single target range classes like Mage, Pirate, or Necromancer to root enemies in place and keep them away from you. My usability rating for Bone Prison is a 3 out of 5 as there are much better single target alternatives, but there are unique scenarios where you may prefer its use. My difficulty rating for Bone Prison is a 1 out of 5 as it is pretty straightforward. Dashing in next is the ninja's cross skill, Sprint. Sprint is a utility cross skill that greatly increases your movement speed for a short duration of time. It's great for avoiding enemy attacks and for parkour. I'd say this skill has, similar use case scenarios to disengage, so I won't spend too much time on it. Basically, skill make you go brrr. That's about it. My usability rating for Sprint is a 2 out of 5 as it doesn't deal any damage or have much utility outside of putting distance between you and an enemy. Similarly, my difficulty rating for Disengage is a 1 out of 5 as it is very simple to use. Now, it might be a little too late to break the ice, but are you feeling really cool? Because next up is none other than the most used cross skill in the game, Blizzy name too long, so I'll just call it Blizzy. It's on screen anyway. Blizzy deals AoE damage over time to enemies within its cast radius. It applies slow and finally freezes them for 3 seconds. With that amount of functionality, you can easily see why Blizzy is one of the most useful cross skills on the list. Blizzy is most often used when tackling multiple enemies with any class, but I recommend using it with AoE classes like Warrior, Ranger, Paladin, Berserker, or Guardian. My usability rating for Blizzy is a 5 out of 5 as it deals damage and applies crowd control to multiple enemies. My difficulty rating for Blizzy, however, is a 3 out of 5 as you might need to coordinate when to use it with your team if you are farming things like class XP, and you need to be aware of exactly when to use it for improved efficiency. Next on the list is Menacing Stance. I don't really have anything creative to say about this, so enjoy this piece of reused content from the last video on Samurai because it's a JoJo reference. This next cross skill makes me want to scream, and I am talking about Berserker's cross skill, Wild Shout. Wild Shout is another utility cross skill. When used, it immediately increases your haste by 60% for 4 seconds. If you time it well enough, 4 seconds is all you need. It's very useful for haste builds, particularly when used with Berserker or Samurai. Haste directly affects the speed of your auto attacks and the cast speed of your spells. We can talk more about stats, however, in another video. My usability rating for the Wild Shout is a 3 out of 5 as it doesn't deal any damage, but it does help you deal more damage, but there aren't a lot of classes that it has great synergy with. My difficulty rating for Wild Shout is a 3 out of 5 as well because you need to time it properly and use it with the appropriate class. This next cross skill gets me angry, or rather it gets one enemy at a time angry with you. The final cross skill on this list belongs to the Guardian and is called Provoke. Provoke deals burst damage to a single target and has a 100% chance of taunting the target to put the aggro on you. Provoke is best used with tanking classes like Warrior, Paladin, or Guardian. There are specific cases where you may need to drag enemies to a specific location on the map. For example, in the Scorpion raid, you needed to drag her to the crystal to disable her shield, and Provoke is a great utility skill for getting that done. My usability rating for Provoke is a 4 out of 5 as it's very useful in group-based content. My difficulty rating for Provoke is a 2 out of 5 because it's simple to use, but if you're not the tank and you do end up using it, everyone is going to have a bad time. That more or less brings us to the end of the list, and I tried to be as concise as I could be. There are a lot more things I could say about these cross skills, but just remember, unless you're using Rend on Healer, using Presence of Mind on a DPS class, or your LagOfLore, your choice of cross skill is entirely situational and preference based. Now, I hope this guide helped you understand these skills a little better, and if you want to know more about the classes themselves, you can check out this video on screen right now. Until the next time, stay safe, be happy, and meow.